Good morning. It's day 33, and today I want to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Might take a little longer than normal, but a year ago I was at a personal development event that lasted 9 days, and there were everything from emotional events to physical events to just very mental exercises. And one of the exercises was that we were to spend a few minutes and identify one word that described who we are at our core. And after you've done that for a few minutes, just contemplated it, you had to pair up with someone, and there were actually a couple of physical tests that you could do, nothing strenuous, but just simple tests to identify if that word actually resonated in your body. And so after a few minutes, I had identified mine, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't really know where that came from. But everybody in the room of 65, 70 people had identified their word. Well, you stood up and you paired off with someone, and they gave you the test. Well, I passed first time, as did a lot of people in the room, but there were also a lot of people that didn't pass the test to start with. So there became this movement where everybody started pairing up with a second and third and fourth person, thinking, okay, maybe it's me, maybe it's the other person conducting the test. And in some cases, it might be the first thing. That was part of my confirmation for myself, was I needed to have somebody else do it so that this wasn't just something I created. And at the end of the time, there were a handful of words that were used multiple times, like 10 or 12 times. There were a smaller number that were used 2 or 3 or 4 times. And I think we had one person that actually identified a word that nobody else in the room came up with. So I was talking with a friend of mine about this exercise a few weeks ago, and she is a language enthusiast. She loves all things language related. And she said, I think you represent that word more than you might think. So I would encourage you to look up the etymology of that word. And she told me a little tidbit about it. So I decided I would do exactly that. So I actually have some notes today because I've done a study on the word courage. So it's obviously a quality that's valued in our society. It's really is a force that can allow you to be determined and brave and all that sort of stuff. But the original word, courage, actually comes from the original Latin word cor, and it means heart. In its original form, courage meant to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart. Over time, the meaning of courage expanded to include more acts of bravery, fearlessness in the face of adversity, and that's the one I tended to think of when I think of courage. But it can serve as a guiding principle for life. It can help you take risk. It can cultivate a sense of inner strength and resilience that allows you to be diligent, like we talked about yesterday. But one of the things that it can also do is inspire other people around you. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow in a different form. But today I want to encourage you to find your word. What is that word that would describe who you are at your core? Because what you have to do is look at what you're doing on a daily basis, whether it's your job, the people you're interacting with, and find out, are you feeding that God-given gift that's within you? And if there's anything I've learned in my Christian journey, it is that the enemy of my soul wants nothing more than to shut down what God created me to be. So I'm going to give you some tips in case courage is your word. But I have a feeling that even if courage isn't your word, these tips will actually help you when you identify what is that thing, that one word that speaks to who you are. And the first one is just identifying your fears. For me, this 90-day challenge has been about the fear and the hesitancy to ever be on camera. I've been great at being behind the scenes, especially as a musician. I can stand on the stage in front of thousands, but I don't have to say anything. The second part of that is taking small steps. Set yourself up a goal and make it one that you have to do something small every day towards becoming that person. It's okay to fail. Mistakes are part of learning. One of the best books I ever read of John Maxwell's was Failing Forward. It's the idea that when you make a mistake, you learn from it and you move on. And that's actually been part of my life since I was a teenager. That what can I learn from what just happened? And what else is waiting? And again, I go back to setting some goals. Set something simple. Like for me, it was this 90-day challenge. So by doing those little steps, you can develop that trait, that thing that is going to leave your legacy. So as part of today's post, I'm going to encourage you to think about what is it that you're leaving as a legacy? Is it courage? Is it fear? Is it somebody who works really hard, like my dad? Or is it somebody who's incredibly compassionate? Think about the long-term impact that you're leaving behind in your life. It is day 33. I'm signing off, and I'll see you tomorrow.